to Enots Engineering. I'm Alan. In today's video we're going over to my brother's workshop to have a look at some modifications he's making to his lathe. Let's see what he's doing.
This is my Boxford lathe, and one of the issues I have with it is getting oil into the right parts where it's required. One example is the saddle. You'll find that there's no way of getting oil between the wipers on the ways. So I feel that there should be another oiler, or four to be precise, that allows you, placed somewhere about here, that feeds straight in to this, the cavity will be presented between the saddle and the ways on the top of this, the V section. And the same with this side. I think there should be another oiler somewhere here, so when you inject oil it gets right between the two wipes and it's where it needs to be. At the moment the only way of lubricating this is to lubricate outside the wipes, front and back, and then you notice that when you move the saddle up and down, the materials that's been trapped by the wipes doing the job, you can see where it shows up bits of brass particles. I'll show you as an example. So if I just wind this back slightly, you can see a little bit there, and you'd lubricate, say here, and try and work it in past the wipes. And then what you find, if I zoom in, you'll find all these particles from machining that are being trapped on the wipe, and you feel like you're forcing those past the wipe, so God knows what's getting past the wipe into the mating surfaces where you don't want any contamination. And I think if we had a hole and an oiler fitted in here, when we inject oil it's going to be between the wipes, and then it's going to try and force these particles out rather than force them in. So what I'm going to do is remove the saddle and investigate the possibility of inserting some oilers. I have two sizes, a brass 6mm one and a tin 1/4 inch one, which is what is originally installed on in other areas of the lathe. So I might go with this one, as it matches other parts of the lathe where there are oilers. And so this is a 6mm and this is a 1/4 inch. As this is an imperial lathe, I shall be going with the 1/4 inch oiler. So let's get dismantling. I'll start off by removing the glass digital scales. The dismantling section I've speeded up. I'm just removing the retaining bolt for the glass scales reed head, and I'll then slide out a packing spacer. Then I'm going to undo the grub screws that hold the glass scales in position and put those to one side safely. Just clean off some swarf. Then I'm slackening the grub screws to remove the tool post slide. This section is just a bump stop I've put in to protect the glass scales from being smashed into by the tailstock. I'm going to remove the lock-in screw for the saddle and nut, and then we'll remove the saddle itself and take it to the bench. It should lift off now. This is some of the swarf that I was talking about. So the saddle's just, the end of it was just here, the front of it, and the back was just out of view of this shot. But in between So in between the wipes, the felt wipes, we have some swarf sitting here. And that's what I don't want. So I'd sooner oil go in between the wipes and wash any swarf out rather than oil each side of the wipe and encourage swarf to come in. So just grab the grip strip. Wipe over. So this is what the angles are going to look like. So say a small hole, just I don't know, probably 1/8 of an inch, maybe smaller this way, and then a 1/4 inch diameter hole this way. This is one of the oilers that I mentioned earlier on that was leaking. So I'm going to replace this. The easiest way I find of removing these is with some easy outs. You've got this type of easy out, and this type I can use with a tap wrench. I'll try this one. It means destroying this totally, but it leaks anyway, so it's finished. I'll just rotate this onto its side so you can see better. So I'll try this type first. Yep, that's coming out, that's gripped it. Let's get some pliers. Remove that from the easy out. As I say, it destroys it, so there's the ball bearing there and the spring's probably all collapsed inside, but the important thing is to extract it without damaging the casting. So I'll just clean that up there. Now I found a small socket that just sits nicely without pushing onto the ball bearing. It just sits nicely over the top surface of this, and it seems to be applying the pressure wear in line with the metal outer casing, which is what we want. We don't want to be caving the centre in, or we don't want to be caving the outside, so we need the pressure just where it needs to be. It might be best to make a brass dolly actually to do this, but I'll see how I get on with this. A little bit of oil in the hole just around here just to help it go in. Just a couple of taps to make sure it's lined up all right. Okay, I've totally wrecked that one, so I'll extract that one. I'll make a brass dolly that sits uniformly across the surface. Okay, so I've drilled a pilot hole, then a 1/4 inch diameter hole to match this angle on this flank here. From underneath I've drilled a 1/16 hole, I think you can see that there at the bottom, a 1/16 hole underneath, straight in the centre of the V. And luckily they both meet up. Slight chamfer on there. So that's the second 1/16 hole drilled. And I'm going to turn it round now and drill the 1/4 inch diameter hole. We'll start with the centre drill. Now I'm going with a 1/8 drill. Okay, so I've drilled the 1/4 inch hole to the deep enough for the eyelet to go in, and you can just see the other size, was it? The 1/16 hole just at the bottom of that hole. Okay, there we have it. The 2 eyelers are pressed in, and I've just charged them with some oil to make sure it does come through the other side. Okay, I've speeded up the reassembly, and here you can see I'm inserting the crossfeed screw, and just with the 2 retaining screws going in. Just remove any dirt that's picked up on there before I slide the cross slide into position. Some oil being put on before I put the saddle into position. Just inserting the saddle locking nut. Cap head bolts will go through to hold the apron in position. Just ensure we've got freedom, the alignment's okay. Now the gib strip to go on the back of the saddle, stop it lifting up. Just trying to tighten those 2 cap head bolts that hold the gib strip in the back. Again, checking that it's not too tight. I'm carefully moving the glass reed head into position. I'm just installing the protection strip there that stops the grub screws digging into the cross slide of the lathe. Just sliding the scale into position, putting the packing back in. It holds the reed head just at the correct height. Both the reed heads will need setting up with the plastic spacing retainers that came with the glass scales. Just slides between the reed head and the glass scale itself, maintains the correct distance. So just tighten those up for now. Put the tool post slide back on. And there we have it, all back together. As you can see, the lathe is now fully assembled, showing the 2 button eyelers. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this useful.